Growth exposes process depth. If you scale without mapped operations, you don't get leverage, you get drift. And adding AI on top of that isn't strategy, it's risk. Fast-moving technology demands systematic, deliberate implementation, and that's the only way legal teams get ahead. I'm Rok, founder of MPL Legal Tech Advisors. We consult legal teams design and execute AI strategy, turning risk into operational clarity. One of those firms was Cubilios Lama, a boutique Chilean practice acting as an outside general counsel for international clients. Just two partners, yet already running the kind of workload you would see in a 10-person law firm. And that's the point. The same structural problems that hit big firms later hit smaller, fast-moving ones first. Their question wasn't which tools, but how to scale safely, protect client data, avoid hallucinations, and keep lawyers in control. The problem is that usually inside growing practices, whether 2 partners or 30, success usually outpaces the structure. Most of the systems live inside of someone's head, but not inside shared workflows. A huge load of documents and templates exist, but without consistent organization, every search becomes rework. And that was Cubilios Lama. Nothing was fundamentally broken, it just wasn't mapped. And until it's mapped, you cannot automate safely or scale with confidence. And that's what our risk and opportunity assessment is built to fix. Let's get into it. The first step was discovery. We started by tracing how case moves from first contact to delivery across both the matter tracker and the document workspace. Matter intake, contract review, time tracking, billing. Within days, the pattern was clear. Contract drafting and review were the biggest recurring time drain, with multiple versions and heavy back and forth. Time tracking was often reconstructed at the end of the month from emails and calendars, and that was a direct revenue leak. And then as for the business development, some of the proposals were delayed. CRM and the newsletter were pushed aside for the time being, and that was the opportunity left on the table, simply because they didn't have time to get to it. As we all know, there's countless of contracting tools out there. The partners had many experiences, but not a lot of success. So they didn't need more tools. They needed a shared picture of the work that the firm was doing. So we mapped every workflow and every cross-system handoff visually. Now, here you're looking at a simplified map of how their firm actually ran across intake, drafting, and follow-up. Bottom left, we have intake and matter setup. So requests arrived through different channels, and each partner logged things slightly differently. That meant no standard entry point, no single source of truth. Next, we have contract drafting and review. Every version was created manually. Loops happened before anything was considered final. By loops, I mean back and forths with clients. Each revision depended on human memory, not structure. And every arrow you see here translates to lost time, context switching, and room for mistakes. Then at the bottom here, we have time tracking and client development. None of this was captured in real time. Most of it was reconstructed weeks later. And that's not just inefficiency, it's lost revenue and follow-up slipping. And so what you see here is not about tools, it's about visibility. Once everything was mapped, the pattern was undeniable. Most of the delay was not legal work, it was rework. To get the same clarity over your workflows, that's exactly what we do at MPL Legal Tech Advisors. Book your assessment call below. Step 2 was fixing the foundation. So make no mistakes, with the workflows visible, the next step was not automation, it was stabilization. So this top box that you see here is the rule set. From now on, there's one system of record. Every matter moves from intake to draft to final delivery in a single structure. Naming and folders aren't recreated from memory anymore, they're applied by default. Version ownership is defined, we don't allow private copies, and guardrails are built into the process. Here at the bottom you can see how this looks in practice. Intake documents land in one place, drafts live in a controlled space, and finals are clearly marked and separated. This is the difference between scalable and chaotic. Once the foundation is predictable, the automations become safe, and the partners stop asking, where's the latest version? In the next step, we were faced with a decision to make. Are we going to get new tools and platforms, or can we squeeze more out of what they already have? So we didn't start with a shopping list, but with a fit and control check. In this case, we decided to go for no new tools. We kept everything inside the firm's existing enterprise environment and permissions. The partners explicitly wanted things under their control and not another platform to maintain. And so our job was to design a manual first working loop and document the structure so it can scale later without any tool sprawl. Now, why this worked for them? The current environment the firm had already met the enterprise level compliance needs. So adding new tools and platforms would solve none of the existing problems, which were structure and discipline, and would create new maintenance overhead instead of reducing it. So what we delivered was the system design, field and folder conventions, and SOPs, so standard operating procedures. So partners could run it now and extend safely later. Once the map was clear, we ranked every process by impact versus recurrence. Contract flows were the highest time drain and happening daily. Time tracking was the biggest revenue leak, and client development was a long-term growth lever, and it was less frequent. So we didn't build anything, we broke the top workflows into incremental, testable steps. Step 1 is capture key details from the initial request into the matter tracker and generate the basic draft. Step 2 was the advanced clause logic and edge cases added only after the governance proves stable. So we worked with them to teach them how to decide what's worth building in order with guardrails. The roadmap included clear ranges and cost efforts so they could plan the investment and use the blueprint with any delivery team while staying in control. Now that's the difference between automation and strategy. Now let me show you how the next contract requests run today before the automation. The request is captured in the matter tracker using the new required, and then the draft is created inside the client folder, named to convention, findable by everyone. The key details, parties, dates, types, and others are logged immediately instead of being reconstructed weeks later, and anything unclear is flagged and not buried. This is a supervision loop, not a full automation. And once it runs consistently without having to adjust it and optimize it daily, then and only then it's ripe for automation. How do you validate this before you go and invest into automating it? So for this, we have a minimal viable reliability blueprint. We designed this system to evaluate and validate the roadmap before any build or buy. Now what ready meant in this firm was the following: field and folder spec locked. What does that mean? Step-by-step definitions for matter tracker and the document workspace. Exactly how each field and folder should be set up. Test harness. What's that? At each stage, there's a simple test just to verify the output, so the partners can check the loop without guessing. Time discipline. This helps them shift from the end of the month reconstruction of events and timelines to point of work capture, with an optional admin review to keep the calendar accurate so the loop stays reliable. Centralization. One controlled environment, no tool sprawl, maintainable and defensible. Investment gates. They needed that clear what is going to be the effort and the timelines, and in what sequence should they go about it, so leadership can plan the spend and use the blueprint with any kind of delivery team while keeping the ownership inside the firm. Now the outcome here is that this blueprint validates the client's vision as architecturally sound within a centralized setup and defines the checks that prove reliability before any automation. And it gives them the investment clarity, effort and cost gates per phase, so leadership can plan the digitalization. The documentation here is not the goal, the daily use is. SOPs define what done means at each stage of the workflow and flag response times. So consistency increases every cycle. Everything runs inside the firm's existing infrastructure and permissions. If we leave tomorrow, nothing breaks. During the final interview, the managing partner, Joaquin Cubillos, told us that before the audit, he was aware of all the pain points, especially how to address them the correct way so they can scale without worrying about the compliance. And that's it. The win wasn't automation. It was alignment, a safe order of operations of what to fix, how, and why. They went from scattered files to a single structure, from reactive effort to predictable process, and from growth stress to operational clarity. Cubillos Lama left with a defensible foundation. They were ready to onboard their next hire without adding chaos. A compliance risk and situational assessment and the AI strategy roadmap gave the leadership the confidence to scale organically. This is exactly what our risk and opportunity assessment is for. We start with the process and the people, and not the tools. That's the differentiator. You get deep insights, foundation tailored to your context, and a roadmap for where the automation fits later. Because the bottleneck isn't your work, it's the noise around it. Book your consultation call, the link is in the description below. And thanks for watching. In one of the next videos, you'll see an interview with Joaquin Cubillos, a managing partner sharing the experience of partnering with MPL Legal Tech Advisors. See you in the next one.